Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to kick off. Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be hosting the ICA Cricket Show once again. I do hope you've been enjoying our little episodes in these fine time. I'm Satish Vishwanathan, and it's been my pleasure, actually, as I said, to host shows. As usual, I have a power-packed panel, starting with Surendra Bhave, former national selector, with a long first-class career at Maharashtra, and has been into full-time coaching for a while now. Suri is ECB Level 3 coach from way back in 2008. Welcome on board, Suri.
Yeah, thank you.
Then there is my good friend Jatin, Paranjape, a former India and Mumbai cricketer, also a former national selector, who these days runs an organization called Khelo More, which, as the name suggests, encourages people to play more by tying up with coaches, venues, grounds, etc. on their platform. Welcome, Jatin, and I'm sure this platform can be used by our members too, right? For their coaching, they can offer their services.
So, Satish, thanks for having me and look forward to the chat.
Great. My third guest is Amol Muzumdar, a former first-class cricketer, as many as 11,161 first-class runs to his credit, all earned through some stylish batting, a lot of which I have had the pleasure of watching. The India cap eluded him, but one can easily say he had a great career despite that. Having taken the commentary besides being the batting coach at Rajasthan Royals, Amol, life has turned full circle for you, Amol. He's now the coach of the Mumbai senior team, a side at led and represented with pride for many, many years. Welcome, Amol. Glad you could join us.
Thanks, Satish, and I'm really happy to join all my friends over here on the show.
Brilliant. I mean, I know you guys from a long time now, so I'm quite excited about what's going to happen in the next 30, 45 minutes in the ICA, fourth edition of the ICA Cricket Show. To get into the thick of it straight away, Suri, let me turn to you first.
Yeah.
Our basic discussion is a twofold discussion today. One is the fact that we have two Indian teams traveling to two different places for two different seasons. And of course, we have a preview of the Sri Lankan series, which starts off next Tuesday. So, Suri, what is your, I mean, both as a selector and the man who's been involved in cricket for right through and through, these two different teams. I know it happened before, we'll come to that. But what is your take on this?
See, basically, it shows the depth in Indian cricket. That's surely a very heartening thing. There's no doubt about that we can raise two formidable teams, one in England and one going to Sri Lanka. And as you rightly mentioned, Satish, it has happened before. But as I see it now, if at all, if it's being considered that this is going to be a regular feature, then I would say that the pathway to Indian team is a 6-layer process now. Starting from the under 19, under 23, of course, India A, then a team like this, then the platform of IPL, and then the actual Indian cricket team, the senior Indian cricket team. So there are going to be a lot of players who are going to be pushing these main team players if that happens to be the case. Now, right at the outset, everybody has said that they're extremely happy that we're going to field two teams at the same time. It also leaves a very sweet problem with selectors of having too many players vying for too little places. Yeah, that is likely to happen. In a best scenario, that is a very, very good thing. There's no doubt about that. But I'm just thinking that if this thing is going to be a permanent feature and it's not going to be a one-off, then there's got to be a proper system put in place. Because what happens is when the pathway is of, as I said, 6 layers, then the top 3 become very, very important. There's no doubt about that. Also, we've got to be mindful whether it takes the edge of the A-team circuit, which is also a very important thing. And IPL is a franchise-based, resource for the Indian cricket team. Own ways of training cricketers. But it is a very positive thing. If I remember right, the first time that happened was in 1992, when the Indian cricket team was in South Africa, and including Navjot Singh Sidhu, Maninder Singh, Chetan Sharma, and Ajay Sharma and all these guys, Bhaskar Pillai, went to SARC tournament in Bangladesh. I remember that was probably the first time that had happened. So really glad that Indian cricket is having great depth. But at the same time, I would like to just bring in one point which the other panelists, Jatin and Amol, may or may not agree to, is uh, that there's got to be a proper system in place. Otherwise, what you look at is a New Zealand picking a team with a lot less options available, but by the same reason, they are much more organized with the talent they have. And then if you're managing talent and to the tune of, if you have a strong Indian cricket team and you have a great bench strength of another 15 players, then the management has to be very, very good. Managing these players and when to give them and how many opportunities, all those things will add to the system. So it's got to be very well thought about. I brought in the point of New Zealand cricket is, all of us know that they will probably have a nucleus of 25 players from the entire nation who can play for the country. But as we have seen this time, that they have actually ended up winning the World Test Championship. So either ways, I'm happy as an Indian that we have depth in Indian cricket. And if we do happen to have a 6-layer system, then it's got to be managed very, very professional.
I completely agree, Surya. It's a couple of good points. I expected this of you with all your experience. Jatin, one, I would like you to take off on what Surya has mentioned in your own way. But I would like first explore, you were part of this the last time it happened. That was in 98. I remember we met in Toronto. I was covering it for a newspaper. You were in Toronto. The other team was in Malaysia for the Commonwealth Games. How did it feel? You had just made a debut a little earlier, I think, against Kenya in Gwalior. Incidentally, Jatin, I covered that match too. So I've covered both all your games. How did you feel as a member of the team? What was the feeling within and at that time, unlike today, there were two teams, that is two equal teams picked. So they divided the current thing. Today we have sent possibly our strongest team to England and sent the remainder sort of to seeing people with injuries, recovering and all that to Sri Lanka. But that time it was divided. So what was the feeling back then within you and within the team?
Satish, as a player, you are in a different zone. You get a chance to play for your country, and that means the world to you. So you don't really think about too many things outside of the game. There was a certain amount of surprise amongst players that there are actually two teams representing India concurrently. But I think apart from that, it was very clear that the national pride part of the games had to be protected, whilst also maintaining a new property, which was the Sahara Cup, and I think it was it was also very commercially important for India to be sticking to those timelines and also sending a team there. So as a player, I don't remember thinking too much about it at all. I was just happy that I was in the team which was going to play Pakistan, because obviously as a player you want to be tested against the best. So that was a thought which I had, and apart from that, just continuing from what Surendra spoke about as well. It's a good problem to have for the selectors. These kind of problems stoke you to think a little better, stoke you to think laterally. Also compel you to have a scenario planning outlook rather than just one scenario. I don't think this is going to be a common occurrence at all. I think COVID has basically necessitated this, because at the end of the day, there is one document which rules world cricket, which is the FTP, which is the Future Tours Program, and that FTP is very, very, very broadcast driven, essentially. So because of COVID, I think there's a lot of leeway which has been given to everybody. So I don't think it's going to be a common occurrence. One more point which I'd like to make is that we see the strength in two teams, and it's very easy to ignore the BCCI's contribution to this, Satish, because at the end of the day, having a parallel A-team calendar requires capital and requires a lot of capital. So for the BCCI to commit capital on a regular basis, long-term safety of the game is fantastic. And I don't think this point has been brought up anywhere. I'm sure they spend at least 30 or 40 crores of rupees a year just on the A-team program. And they could easily kind of not prioritize this. But I think one of the strongest points of the BCCI is that they listen to their former legends, and they listen to them. They lean on them for cricketing gravitas. And I think kudos to the BCCI for putting their hand in their pocket and bringing the money out, because at the end of the day, the money has to go to the right areas. Your most important resources have to go to the most critical areas. So I think the availability of capital has allowed this bench strength to be built and to be tested against the best. So today, when you have a Shubman Gill who's walking out to bat in Australia, he's played that pace before. He's played those guys before. He's played several other bowlers like the Australian bowlers before, and not because of the IPL only, because of A-team cricket. So when he takes guard at that crease, there is a certain amount of comfort and security, and that's what the A-team calendar has brought about.
Yeah, Jatin, I completely agree, because I don't think many people realize that except for the Indian team and the IPL bringing in revenue, there is no other revenue for the board.
Yep.
It is, and the expense right starting from under 19, under 16 onwards, the amount of matches we play. I know I spent a year in the Karnataka State Cricket Station doing cricket administration. I just couldn't believe the number of matches we played on each day.
Yeah.
Getting the umpires in place, getting a scorer in place, and things like that. That brings me to you, Amol. Amol, you've seen the system. I mean, now you've been, especially with your role as commentary for the domestic thing. You've been around. You've seen the amount of money the BCCI has been spending on domestic cricket. All that comes from here. But my first thing to you, Amol, I mean, I have to bring this up. This is Rahul Dravid at his pre-tour press conference in Bombay said that, look, this is not really the new normal. This is happening, as Jatin said, because pandemic induced. We are not able to send India A tours, but it also could be a way of, revenue. It could fall in place. That's a different topic. But you, Amol, as a player, would you have liked this new normal to be whole normal when you are playing? I mean, India cap is an India cap, and I'm sure you would have loved to have one.
I would have loved this on one leg. There's no doubt about it as a player. As Jatin said, it's a very very pertinent point that as a player, you don't really think about the issues that are going on beyond cricket. So basically, as a player, you're just focused on your game, and if you get an India cap, there's nothing better than that. And then again, it's not. I mean, if you see the support staff over there, you're spending a lot of time with somebody like Rahul Dravid. So that can give you a lot of insights about your own game and about your colleagues as well. So that's a good education. There's no doubt about it as a player. But I just feel that it just gives you a glimpse of what Indian cricket is all about at this moment of time. I personally feel 50 players have gone on different tours. Like 25 of them are there in England and 25 here in Sri Lanka. So that gives us a depth of 50 quality players, and all are international ready. I personally feel that cricket changed. There have been two distinct changes in cricket. You can count cricket post 79 Packer series and post IPL. So there are two distinct changes that happen in cricket, and now we're seeing the changes that are happening post IPL, and what are the benefits that Indian cricket is reaping after the IPL has come into play. And similarly, if Jatin said about the revenue, I think that this post-COVID, this could be we'll have to wait and see whether this is a permanent solution, or we are heading towards a different property altogether, or this is just a temporary solution just to make sure that we're not short on profits. Similarly, we'll have to wait and watch. I think again the world changed post 2001, September 11. The travel changed completely. We went into different dynamics of traveling. Similarly, COVID-19 will have its own effects, and I think we are seeing those after effects. But we'll have to, as cricketers and as cricket fans in India, we'll have to wait and see whether this is a temporary solution or this is an altogether new problem.
Yeah, I get some small problem with the connection, Amol, but we got you. I mean, the voice came through clearly, not an issue. But my point here, I want to throw to the two selectors on our show is, I mean, the India cap has to have some real meaning, right? It has to be earned. Is there a danger with two teams of that, eroding by any chance? I just want your opinion. I'm not saying it is. It's just I'm throwing out the thing. We'll go with Suri first and Jatin next. Is that a danger of in any way eroding the value of the India cap?
Uh, I honestly feel, all those 15 years when I played cricket, I very passionately chased that Indian cap. Uh, and I know I'm not a former India cricketer, but I still have a very strong opinion on the exclusivity of that Indian cap. And that is something which is very coveted to every first-class cricketer, and that's got to be earned. I totally agree with Satish, no doubt about that. But an India A cap, Satish, is an India A cap. It's not the team. The main thing you want to get into is the Indian cricket team, and India A forms the pathway to that cricket. Uh, but what I feel is, as a selector, I feel is, you see in English Premier League and you see in other sport that the perform or perish law applies, uh, it is applied very diligently. Okay. And cricket has its own culture where the great players are given a long rope. And for the same reason, you have actually seen a lot of great players turning around their careers while they're still at it, at international cricket. And I'm just suspecting if this thing becomes regular, or you have a kind of depth which you have in Indian cricket right now, can we become totally professional? The opportunities provided the main team. Now, I also have a view that as you pick a cricketer to play for India, you are sort of in your mind as a selector, you have a number of opportunities which you want to give to that youngster, or you have a number of opportunities in your mind to be given to a senior cricketer who is probably slightly up and down on performance. So that will have to be looked upon very diligently by the newer set of selectors because of the depth in Indian cricket. And there's nothing wrong. I mean, it's got to be run completely professionally. But in India, we do take these things very passionately. We look at them in a very passionate manner. And it has to be understood that world over, the sport is played like that. And doesn't matter how big a star you are, one day you are going to perish because you are not performing. That law applies everywhere. I mean, yesterday itself, Satish, we saw Roger Federer absolutely tonked out of Wimbledon by a young gun. And that's the reality. He's been absolutely smashed out of Wimbledon, and we may or may not see Roger Federer again playing Wimbledon. So that's the very nature of the sport, the professional sport, and that's got to be understood very well. As a selector, you're saying that will we decrease the value of the Indian cap? I don't think so, Satish. I think Jatin touched upon a very, very good point that the selectors are made to think in a very methodical manner when the talent pool is big. And right now in India, the talent pool is really, really big. Yeah. So selectors will have to sharpen their thinking, maybe sometimes think out the box and come out with the best possible Indian cricket team at all times. So when they have this riches of talent at their disposal, the selectors are also having that added responsibility of thinking sharply, thinking precisely, and coming out with the best cricket team. And that's going to be the way forward, because you have to be entirely professional with it. And with the newer generation of selectors, they will bring in good ideas, and they will possibly look at this much more professionally than, say, what a selector thought about Indian cricket in 70s, 80s, and 90s. And that's why I agree with that Jatin's point, that it does put onus on selectors to think sharply, think precisely. And that's going to be the way forward, I think, Satish.
I agree, but Jatin, I'll tell you where I'm coming from. I remember attending a Karnataka State Association Academy thing, where Srinath was talking to the parents. They had this thing of calling the parents over. The expectations of parents, especially in India, I mean, I guess it's a worldwide thing, but more so in India, is huge. So he just asked them a question. He said, because everybody expects their kid to play for India, if not India, for the state, whatever. So he just asked the question. He said, can you tell me how many people have played for India? He was talking about test cricket at that time. And people start saying 1,000, 5,000, 10,000. And today we reached 302. I think Akshar Patel is a 302nd cricketer. So, my question is based on that also. But Jatin, your views on this, whether the cap is easier, that makes it not very good for the country, or what is it?
Look, all of us on this panel are cricket purists. So we will always attach different importance to the India cap. So I get it from that perspective. But if you just double click on it for a second, the guys in the squad who are in Sri Lanka right now, there may be a couple of them who haven't won the India cap, and those two players, it's not a question of if they're going to wear the India cap, it's a question of when they are going to wear it. Because already in the India A scheme of things, and that is your bench strength. These are all guys, whom you put your faith in and say that, hey, tomorrow if we had 15 injuries in the Indian team, could these guys step up? And the answer is yes. That is how selectors think about the India A squad. So while we can get all purist about it, I think it's just a piece of practicality which we are facing right now. And for me, I think even within the dressing room, I think the India cap is at the end of the day a test cap. You have such a lot of T20 and one-day cricket now, but I would think that an India cap could, a player's ambition would be to wear it in a test match for India. So we get the positioning from that perspective. These are just logistical and practical situations which you have to manage essentially.
Correct.
Come on.
I just wanted to ask, Jatin, he made a point about double clicking on that and just seeing why those couple of guys who are not there in the Indian team, who have not worn that India cap. Why couldn't the board call it an India A tour? Generally, I mean, it's beyond me. I mean, if there is a logical answer to this, then I would love to hear that. Why? I mean, Rahul Dravid and his crew for the last 3 years have been with the India A, sort of an India A support staff with India under-19. The same crew has traveled. Then why have they called this differently? This particular tour different?
I would hazard a guess here that there are commercial implications to this rather than anything else. There are broadcast rights implications to this, which and I'm just taking a stab at guessing. It's just a guesstimate from my side that if you call it an India A tour, probably it doesn't fall into the FTP, for example, and the FTP is what you get paid the broadcast monies for. So the Sri Lankan board would have a contract with an ex broadcaster, and if that's an India A team, then that contract doesn't cover that that match essentially. So I think that it is probably it's a guesstimate, but I'm pretty sure that this is for a commercial reason. rather than anything else. Otherwise, it would have been the best solution, right? You call it an India A tour and everybody's happy. But if you call it an India A tour, it's not an India tour, and the host nation doesn't make any money out of it from broadcast rights.
I mean, I would absolutely think that's the reason. And Sri Lankan board, they are in doldrums because they've not been able to host cricket, and they need these tours. Otherwise, it's not easy for a host board also to agree, right?
Yeah. And Satish, if I may just jump in here, I think the BCCI is in a position where it is a elder brother to many of the boards today. Essentially, it is India matches, it's away, which enable revenues for West Indies, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and essentially this tour, Satish, would probably cover the working capital for a 2 or 3 year period of the Sri Lankan board. So it's extremely important to take these factors into consideration as the BCCI. And hence you have no change in the nomenclature for such tours.
Answer your question, Amol?
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. I think most of the viewers must, they would be thinking, but that's a superb answer.
Yeah.
Satish,
So-
I just want to make
sorry.
from the discussion we hear, that isn't it wonderful as an Indian that we are able to send a team to Sri Lanka, which will probably bring in big crowds. And we have two teams who are going to bring big crowds in those countries. So the depth is amazing. I mean, if you look at the entertainment part of cricket, everybody in Sri Lanka would love to go and watch that team. It has got some top entertainers. We should take a lot of pride out of that, because not a lot of countries in the world right now are in a position to provide two teams who can entertain to the same tune. It's amazing, isn't it?
Sure, I agree. I mean, that's actually the right cue for me to switch to part 2 of our chat. The series itself. Amol, entertainment, we're talking about that. So you have, the Pandya brothers there. You have the Shikhar Dhawan, you have Manish Pandey. The team, Bhave is vice captain. The team as such, strength-wise, we should actually easily be able to beat this on paper, the Sri Lankan side. So that's not going to be a problem. But I heard a very interesting comment from a chap you will be in charge of very soon, Prithvi Shah. So with Rahul sir in the dressing room, we'll be very disciplined dressing room. So that is going to play a big part, right? These guys, you mentioned it briefly earlier that Rahul as coach there will make a big thing to this team. The entire, please touch on the youngsters in the team and this nice comment that Prithvi has come up with.
Yeah, I'll just touch upon Prithvi's comment. He better get used to that discipline, because when he comes back to Mumbai, it could be replicated. No, but just on a lighter note, I think entertainment value is amazing. Sri Lanka, we will see some, I'm sure we'll see some superb talent being groomed from the Indian cricket perspective. And I'm sure it will give sort of a reflection to Sri Lankan cricket board also where they are. We'll get to know probably by end of the series, but I'm sure the entertainment value would be 100% with Shikhar there, the Pandya brothers, Prithvi Shaw, not to forget Devdutt Padikkal. I'm really looking forward for how he is going to, how he's going to shape up, because we'll come to know. Of course, IPL, he's been fantastic for Karnataka. He's been a revelation. But when it comes to international cricket, I would love to see how he absorbs the pressure over there. So yeah, entertainment wise, it will be great. It's only white ball cricket, so we're really looking forward to it. And it just wanted to add one point. There was a time in, of course, Surendra, Bhave and Jatin will agree to this, that in the late 80s, we used to look at, or 70s and 80s, we used to look at West Indies and the depth in West Indies cricket, and we used to be in awe of West Indies cricket. In the 90s and early 2000s, we were in awe of Australian cricket. The tables have changed, and the world. I think the world better get used to this. That the depth in Indian cricket is enormous post IPL. I mentioned about it post 2008. Since the IPL has come in to play, I think all the cricket boards and all the cricketers in the world are willing to come to India. There was a certain period of time when people were not ready to come to India or the subcontinent. There were times in the, I don't want to touch upon that, but now everyone looks forward to get into India. Why? Because because of the sheer talent that is available around the Indian players.
I mean, that's something, it's really something we can crow about, because it's not just the depth in coffers, it's also the depth in talent. I remember when the IPL was launched, Amol, the Bangalore press box, the first match was played in Bangalore, there were a lot of foreign journalists just waiting for this to fail. They thought, best, this kind of money that's being thrown in, there's a grand opening ceremony, the likes of which never been seen. And they were like literally waiting for it to fail. I remember, we took some of these journalists to the press club a day or so after that, and they were like, man, that they just completely taken aback by cricket that came in. I mean, that knock of Bryn McCullum, or whatever, the entire thing that they were like really realized that, look, this is something which can happen. Yeah, Jatin, I was going to come to you another point, but you can.
Just to extend Amol's point, I think, where he talks about the shift in power in world cricket. So earlier there was a shift in commercial power. Now there is a shift in on-field power, essentially. And that makes it incumbent on the BCCI to think along those lines, that how can they plan for the next 10 years or the next 15 years of this trend continuing. We all have worked in cricket. We know if we had to do a SWOT analysis of Indian cricket, we would be able to do it on a paper napkin right now. Because we've spent many days in the sun, watching Indian cricket. But I think it also now becomes important for the BCCI to look at the supply side of Indian cricket. You have to have a lot more coaches. Inter-school coaches have to be certified. Inter-college coaches have to be certified. This is the time, to make sure that all the foundations get even stronger. There is a Japanese saying that the best time to build a roof is when the sun is shining. So this is what the BCCI should look at, and they have a lot of gravitas there. There is Saurav there. There is Rahul there. And I'd love to see over the next 2 or 3 years the supply side being strengthened at a frenetic pace.
Jatin, what about the current supply side? Which are the youngsters in Sri Lanka? First, let me say yes. What you're saying is absolutely spot on. We've got to do this, and the coaching part is key. So even at the ICA, Jatin, what we're doing is we are actually collected among our database. We have 1,600 members who all are into coaching, what levels they've done. So we are trying to send this out to state associations. They have been applying directly also, but we have got this base. So, that's something very key. Having said that, this current team, the younger lot, you have just relinquished your selectoral post, so you're very well aware of what's the talent on view. What do you make, and who are you looking forward to in this particular tour?
2 or 3 things. Just from a visual optical treat perspective, I think Prithvi Shaw, Padikkal reminds me of Stephen Fleming a little bit. So just from a watching pleasure, I think both these guys. But just if I had to put my selector's hat on for 1 second, I would be looking very, very carefully at Hardik Pandya as the bowler. Because that is an area that's a challenge.
Yesterday, Surya Kumar Yadav in a press conference has said that he bowled in their tour game, the inter-thing game, so there is promise there.
Yeah, so and the issue with him is not about whether he can bowl or no. The issue with him is that can he bowl in all these 6 games, and come up and a rock up fit after that, essentially. Because Hardik Pandya is a very, very important component for the Indian team for the next 2 or 3 years. So it's just from a strategic perspective, I'd like to see him. I want to see Bhave as well. Again, will he play all the 6 games? There's been a challenge with Bhave over the last 4 or 5 years. He plays 2 or 3 games and then he pulls up. So there is a visual treat to it, and there's a more hardcore operational piece to it. But then, as Amol said, Hardik Pandya is going to put bums on seats there, essentially, and Prithvi Shaw will do the same. So looking forward to that entire Sri Lankan music, that live music going on, and our boys, doing well for us. So yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, Amol, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to add one point quickly on what Jatin said about Hardik Pandya. For me, I think, to put it very bluntly, it is not about whether he can bowl. Of course, if he wants to be an all-rounder, or if he needs to be categorized into an all-rounder category, then he needs to bowl. There is no doubt about it. My question is whether he can pick up wickets, because that's where I feel India. If you look at the Indian team right now, and I'm talking about the main Indian team, which is in England, the only component that is missing in that Indian team is a genuine all-rounder. And if Hardik Pandya can bowl and pick up wickets, then I think he fits the bill completely. Because I don't have any doubts about his batting. Nobody will have any doubts about his batting talent. The only part is whether he can pick up wickets at a crucial time.
I'm going to send this recording to Ravindra Jadeja and Ashwin, Amol, about not being any all-rounder. Suri,
Hey,
your
Satish,
views on this team?
bowling all-rounder.
Suri, your views on this team and what do you expect of them? Who are you looking forward to?
I mean, Jatin mentioned all the names, and yeah, I'm very keen to see this team do well, because I think that is the only way you can actually prove your depth. It's one thing having two teams sent to two different destinations, but if both teams do well, then it always extremely well for the Indian cricket. So yeah, definitely. I'm not particularly following anyone because I think it has to evolve, and these people have to perform consistently to get into the Indian team. But although my mind doesn't work like a selector all the time, I can promise you it works like a coach 24/7. So I'm going to pick up something from what Jatin said, and he talked about education and that kind of stuff. I mean, there's been so much talk about how we bat, particularly in England, and there is some ups and downs in our batting when it comes to playing in England. Also, Duke's ball adds a lot of fire to any bowling attack and all those things. I just feel that the collection of players which you see emerging now, there seems to be a very strong need for coaching conventional test match batting. And I know it's a very tough thing, and I think we might even visit that word again, the purist. But I still feel that there is a vast difference between successful white ball batter and a successful test match batter. And I think that particular department has to be looked in, because I think all the emerging players and the new stars on the horizon of Indian cricket, they seem to have a lacuna or two when it comes to facing lively attacks in conditions like England. And can something be done in that department? Because I'm still a very big fan of conventional opening batting style, although during our tenure and just before that, Viru completely changed the way opening batting looked at. And credit to him for his talent, he could do it. But I think there's still a place for conventional, hard-nosed test match batting. And I'm not even getting into the argument about the strike rate of players and all that stuff. But conventional batting does not mean slow batting, or it doesn't actually mean extremely attacking batting either. It's something which, the youngsters have to learn, soaking in the pressure, attacking at the right time, building big knocks, and trying to bat the entire day. Now, once again, I'm going to sound like a very, very old-fashioned person, but I think there's still great value of trying to coach batters to bat like that and to prepare them for test cricket. And I think one of the Bradman oration or whatever, I think Rahul had touched upon that point once upon a time, that if you play test cricket well, you can easily adopt to the 50 and 20 over format and be a successful player in all three. If you only train to bat for T20s, then you have a very little chance of playing well in test cricket. So I'm just going by what the experts are saying, and what I see around is, I would like to ask Amol and Jatin if there's any need to address that issue in Indian cricket.
Jatin?
No, I think there is a definite need, but that need is a lot deeper than just the Indian team. I think that need goes down to the state levels, to the way the states are organizing their calendar of tournaments. How are they looking at under 15 cricket? How are they looking at under 19 cricket? So that's a strategic part of it, but there is an operational need for sure. Because today we have. Let's look at the Indian batting lineup, right? You have Rohit, and then you have say Shubman, you have Pujara at 3, you have Kohli at 4, you have Ajinkya and Pujara are not going to play for 10 more years, right? Who are your next in line? You don't have a next in line, So these are the challenges which need to be organized from a short-term perspective. But there's a longer realignment of thinking which state associations have to do as well as they are bringing up their cricketers.
Yeah, totally agree with that. Jatin, sorry to interrupt. I completely agree with that. And it goes much deeper than just training the players. It's the administrators' part. It's how the selectors at state level look at players. It's also that. And it's also with coaches. The little bit of onus I would like to put here on coaches, because they will like to train boys who will quickly make it to stardom. A lot of things are forgotten about how test match batting is done. So it's about showing results, isn't it? So the coaches are at times tempted. Arey yaar, jo dikhta hai, wo bikta hai. So I've got to give my state or my club a guy who will be looked upon quickly by an IPL team, and he will rise the ladder. So there's got to be a moral responsibility also a little bit. But I totally agree. You will have to look at the smallest component. Maybe start from school cricket and junior cricket, and then senior state cricket, to have that quality supply chain which Jatin talked about. And I also feel that the Indian lineup, if you see at the great Indian lineups, we had 5 different batting styles placed in one playing 11 when we became the #1 test playing nation in the world in 2009. And all those great batters had different styles, almost complementing each other on the cricket field. And that's why there is an inherent risk of pushing only batters of one style into the cricket team, which is attack, attack, and attack, and not having anybody to compensate that. Exactly what Jatin said 2 minutes ago, that is, you are looking at the replacements to some of these guys who are not going to play for 10 more years. Then there's got to be a very, very methodical way of doing it. And I look at it more from the coaching point of view, and Jatin looks at it from the admin side as well. And all those put together, I'm definitely sure that we'll find batters who can replace those great guys one day.
Yeah, sorry, now I look at it only from a chat point of view. So you give me, I keep looking for new topics. So you give me a different, completely new topic, which I'm going to line up one of these days and get you guys back. But trust Bombay, Pune guys on the panel to bring it all to batting. Whatever you do, they'll come back to batting. But anyway, our show was on the Sri Lankan tour. Now I'm going to put you guys on the line. The ODI series, T20 series. Your call on what's it going to be? 3-0, 2-1, 2-1, 2. Jatin, you go first.
I think India will win 2-1, 2-1 probably.
All right. Suri, you next.
Yeah, similar results. Complete dominance will be good, but 2-1 sounds good.
No, Angelo Matthews also, Amol. So what's your call on this?
I think 3-0, 2-1 in the T20s. 3-0 in the ODIs.
All right.
I
Jatin?
feel it's going to be domination from India.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. Let's look forward to the series. I'm sure we'll have fun. Here, we're all most of us sitting at home and we have a lot of time to watch. Some of you are very busy, I know. Thank you very much, gentlemen. I knew it would be a pleasure in the very beginning when we set up this particular panel. It was an absolute treat. I know we spoke about a lot of things, a lot of food for thought for those joining us and watching. Thank you, dear audience, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure having you all. And Amol, Suri, and Jatin, absolute pleasure. Hope to see you again soon.
Thank
Thanks
you
for
very
having.
much.
Thank you so much, Satish. Thank you.
Enjoyed it.
Thanks, Satish. Thanks. Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you.